This is like the holy grail for naked mole rat research.
Researchers studying naked mole rats have discovered that their unique social system seems to depend on one simple chemical.
This is probably, in my career, the most dramatic and clear-cut experiment.
And their findings will have a major impact on how we study these strange animals.
It's a big deal. Behaviorists, ecologists, evolutionary biologists, everybody, this is a big deal. I really like weird and wonderful animals, and naked mole rats are really special that way. They are very, very unique. And when I was introduced to them as a graduate student, that's a long time ago, they sort of blew my mind.
Melissa Holmes has spent most of her career studying naked mole rats, small, burrowing rodents from the Horn of Africa. They're almost blind, living in underground colonies that can contain hundreds of individuals. And they are, objectively, quite peculiar.
There are so many ways that they're unusual, and it seems like the more we look at them, the more things we find that are unusual. So the ones that get the most amount of press are the fact that they are extremely long-lived for a rodent, especially an animal of that size. They are resistant to cancer, certainly reduced incidence of cancer, particularly associated with aging. They have unique features in terms of their pain sensitivity and how their pain processing works relative to other rodents, other mammals. It's like it just goes on and on. But for me, it's always been about their social behavior.
Their social structure is one of the naked mole rat's strangest features, and it's unique amongst mammals.
Within the group, there's a reproductive female, and we call her the queen. The queen is the only female who is reproductively active. She has her breeding male, and all other individuals within the colony don't reproduce. So if you look across the animal kingdom, most species, reproductive fitness is associated with your own direct reproductive fitness. Do you as an individual have offspring? Do I as an individual have offspring? But as species get more social, it gets a bit more complicated.
Many social mammals share parental care, and in some cases put more energy into looking after other individuals' offspring than their own. But naked mole rats are an extreme case. In fact, they're so extreme that the most common comparisons people make aren't to other mammals at all.
And that's where it gets to things like bees and wasps, some species of bees and wasps and ants, where the reproductive skew is so extreme. So everything is restricted to a queen. She produces thousands of offspring, and nobody else in the group reproduces.
Queen bees are raised to be queens from before they even hatch. In naked mole rat society, however, any female could theoretically one day become a queen.
Naked mole rat queens aren't born. They're made, or it's something that is controlled by the social environment. It tells us that there's something happening within the colony that is allowing one female to be a queen and preventing all of the other females from being that. So it's not a genetic trait.
This was the great mystery of naked mole rat research. What determines which animal becomes queen? And what prevents the rest of the colony from doing the same? Something about the queen is stopping the other animals reproducing, suppressing even their ability to reproduce. The same thing happens in bees, where it's largely controlled by pheromones. Now, in rodents, pheromones are usually found in urine. So researchers looked at queen mole rat urine. They found nothing.
There was no evidence that it was a pheromonal cue that was keeping the non-reproductive animals suppressed. So that led most of us to think, okay, it's not olfactory. It's probably this behavioral side of things where she's pushing and shoving and stressing out the subordinates. But more and more research has been accumulating showing that the subordinates are not stressed. So that mechanism wasn't really making sense either.
And that is where the story ended, for a while.
We keep more than 450 animals. They live in 16 different colonies.
This is Mohammed Khalaf at the Max Delbruck Center in Berlin, Germany.
So they live in a tunnel system where we give them chambers connected with tunnels to make it similar to the wild. It's hard to find the queen, especially in large colonies, because they sleep on top of each other. We knew for more than 40 years that the queen somehow is inhibiting these other females, but we didn't really know how this happened.
I think the whole project started when Mohammed just came into my office one day and started to say, well, I would like to collect some odors from the naked mole rat. And I said, how do you do that? I had no idea how you actually collect a bouquet from an animal.
This is Gary Lewin, the head of the lab, who worked with Mohammed and others on this new research. They got to work collecting naked mole rat smells.
We helped him collect as many odors as possible. And then that's where the kind of first eureka moment came, because when he looked at all of the odors and he saw that the queens had a single odor, one volatile that the other animals did not have, then we'd already discovered something interesting, because we'd found one molecule that seemed to be very specific for breeding females, or the queens in this case. And so that was actually really the start. And of course, when you see that there's a specific odor, then you want to know what that odor does. And that's where the whole experiment then went from that point.
The single odour found only in queens was a simple chemical called isopropyl myristate.
When you looked at the structure, it didn't look like what we think of as pheromones, right? It's a relatively simple molecule, it's a volatile. The first thing you do is you go in the literature and you look up where can you find isopropyl myristate. And it turns out that it's a relatively common molecule that's found in many plastics. But what was even better is that when we just go to the catalog, we can just buy this stuff for basically $5. And so that's exactly what we did. So we just went to the Sigma catalog and bought a bottle of isopropyl myristate, and then we can start to do experiments. And it was easy peasy.
And there were a lot of experiments to do. First up, they wanted to figure out where this chemical was coming from.
Mohammed actually went to the trouble of milking queens from our colonies and then asked, is it made in the breast milk? Turns out it wasn't detectable in the breast milk. And so he took swabs from all around the animal, and it turned out that the highest concentrations of isopropyl myristate were actually coming from the vagina, so the sexually active organs of the queen. And also, what was even more interesting is that the amount of isopropyl myristate was actually changing during the ovulatory cycle. And that's actually interesting, because that meant that the molecule was giving a readout of the sexual status of the queen. And of course, the queen is only important for the colony when she's breeding. So if you have a queen, interestingly enough, we know if a queen is not able to breed, that queen will quickly be disposed of in the colony.
The next question was, what effect was the chemical actually having on the workers? The team wanted to know, what would happen if you removed a queen from a colony but kept adding isopropyl myristate?
In normal cases, if you take the queen out of the colony, females will sense within hours and they will start fight to replace the queen. So we took the queen out and we applied isopropyl myristate daily for 3 months. And for 3 months, all females were in peace, everything was fine inside the colony. 1 week after we stopped applying isopropyl myristate, females start fighting, and few weeks later, one of these females become the queen, and she started producing isopropyl myristate, which inhibits the reproduction of other females, and then the colony become in peace again.
The chemical seems to change the hormones of worker naked mole rats, increasing the hormone prolactin, which stops them getting pregnant. But as soon as the isopropyl myristate is gone, the females start to become sexually active, their genitals grow larger, and they start to breed. Amid all the naked mole rat infighting, it might be that whoever gets pregnant first is able to suppress reproduction in everyone else.
So it's actually quite a nice mechanism to make sure that once someone's pregnant and they're making isopropyl myristate, they're going to be the queen and nobody else can be the queen.
Finding this chemical cue is a big deal in the naked mole rat community.
This is like the holy grail for naked mole rat research. For those of us interested in the social structure, to figure out how this reproductive suppression is maintained. How does the queen maintain her dominance? So identifying the cue that does that is amazing. I'm very excited.
And this one paper is undoubtedly going to inspire a whole load more research.
It's a piece of the puzzle. It doesn't complete the puzzle. Like, the puzzle of biology is endless. But it's a really big piece of the puzzle for understanding how this particular social organization or extreme social organization works. Because if we know what the mechanism is, now we can actually look at how it may or may not be genetically controlled, and is it encoded for in the genome, and all of those things like that. So it really opens the door for understanding not just how it works day to day, but how it evolved. And I think that that's going to drive a lot of exciting future new work.
Isopropyl myristate is a well-known chemical. It's found in skin creams and even head lice treatments. But this finding means that scientists will probably be putting it back under the spotlight.
There's one study where people had measured this substance coming off the breasts of breastfeeding women. And they measured several different molecules, and isopropyl myristate was one of them. And in this study, they even took this mixture of volatiles and put it on like a Q-tip and showed that newborns would start sniffing or tried to suckle this Q-tip that was soaked in these volatiles. But that paper was like a one-off paper then, I think quite a number of years ago, and nobody really followed it up.
There's a lot more to be done to fully understand what this chemical does. Mohammed is planning on looking into the molecular biology in more detail, potentially investigating things like the specific receptor that isopropyl myristate binds to in mole rats' noses, and how that interacts with neural circuitry in the brain. And although naked mole rats are unique in so many ways, this discovery could tell us more about the evolution of other social species, including humans.
I'm hoping that it'll start a whole new set of research, and it will increase people's enthusiasm for naked mole rats in general.